Hello, welcome to the Kitchen Table Modelers Workshop. It's product review day, so we can see on the bench here I've been sent a product from my good friends at Gaahleri, and it is their Serenair compressor set. So when I say compressor set, it is a set. So it's basically everything in a box that anybody would need to get up, set up and start going airbrushing. So it's got an air source, so a little mini desktop compressor, it's got the hose, and it's got an airbrush, and that's it. It's not overly expensive, and it is, to my mind, pretty much designed for anybody that's interested in getting into airbrushing, and to give them enough equipment to get going without having to lay out a lot of money to buy, large compressors, high-end or more advanced airbrushes, and whatever else. So they sent it to me for review and to use, and review and use it I shall. I've actually got a few ideas I'm going to be using this, or a few builds I'm going to be using this compressor for, just to give it a real good test, along with all the other equipment that I do test and review for Gaahleri. So enough of my waffling, let's get the camera on the table and have a look at what comes in the box and get some paint through it. Right, so we're on the desk and here we have it. So as always with Gaahleri, really good stout packaging box. So you know the product inside is going to arrive in one piece. So this is their Ambition series airbrush and compressor kit. If we look on the back, as always, there's usually instructions on the back of Gaahlerie's box. So if you want to freeze frame that, then freeze frame by all means. So it's the Serenair GTS-06 compressor. So it's a high power with 7 pressure levels, meeting all your spraying needs. So it's got dual air outlets, compact size and ultra quiet, and it comes with the classic series CS36, so it's probably just going to be their Gaahlerie's entry level airbrush. Just for the stats then, it will produce 15 litres a minute airflow at 18 psi, 27 psi. So you've got auto stop start at 18, or auto stop at 18 psi at levels 1 to 3, and then auto stop at 27 psi at levels 1 to 4. And the rated pressure is 15 to 27 psi. So it's saying the air noise, so operating noise is 35 decibels, which is actually really quite quiet. It's quieter than my other compressor that I usually use. And the max pressure is 39 psi. So that's pretty good. The weight is 0.73 kilos, so about 750 grams. The airbrush comes with a 3.8mm needle nozzle setup, and it is a 1/4 ounce color cup, so it's basically a standard size airbrush. However, I would think that this kit will take any and run any of Gaahlerie's products. So, lifting the lid off. Oh, it's a good fit. Let's see what we get inside. So, instructions. Always good for a read. Throw them away and look at them later. Typical man thing. And we've got, really nicely packed. Zoom out just a little bit. Come on, camera, work. There we go, that'll do. So, we've got a compressor. You can see I've not been in this because it is still wrapped. So there's our compressor. There's our power pack. There's our airbrush, complete with protective cover, and here is the color cup. So we can just screw that on there. We'll have a look at the airbrush in a minute. These, I'm imagining, are the airbrush holders, and then maybe underneath, yep, there we go, there is our air hose. So it literally does come with everything in the box that you might need to get going. So let's have a look at the airbrush first. Seems that's the bit we're going to use. So standard internal mix dual action airbrush. Push down for air, pull back for paint. And it is 0.38. So it's an average size needle, be ideal for acrylic based paints, but it'll spray anything. So there's the needle chucking nut here. And then if we undo this, this will be the spring housing for the needle chuck. So that just comes out. There's the spring. There's the needle chuck. There is the trigger. There's the air valve. Obviously the colour cup we know comes off. Pull that off there. Crown cap. Air cap. And nozzle. And that's it. There's the airbrush. I'm not going to bother taking the trigger assembly apart. It's just a standard airbrush trigger assembly, same as anybody else's. So that's all the component parts to the airbrush. We can zoom in again. You have a good look at them. There we go. Right. Oh dear. There we go. So we have a needle stop adjuster on the back, so we can limit the amount of paint delivered. It comes with Gaahlerie's unique air nozzle assembly with the air channels around the nozzle, so it's self-centering nozzle, which I really like. A really novel way of approaching it. A basic trigger. It's maybe not as refined as the Gaahlerie's other products. What it doesn't come with, that the other airbrushes come with, is a quick release. So I'll need to dig in my spares box and find one. There's a quick release. I had one earlier. And let's get the bit for the airbrush. So there's a quick release from the spares box. So if you want a quick release, you'll have to buy your own. You can get them from Gaahleri. Although, to be fair, it's not going to be 5 seconds to screw the air hose onto the valve. So let's put this back together. But what I want to do, no, in fact, I'll do a little bit, but I won't do it all. So I want to see if there's anything we can do to make this, well, see how it performs, and then see if we can tune it a little bit. Because all airbrushes can be tuned if you're of a mind to try and increase the performance. But we'll see how it is straight out the box. But what I will do is just put some lube here on the spring just to ease it a little bit and make it a nice smooth travel. It was nice to start with, but this always helps, and I do it with every airbrush I get new anyway. So a little bit of petroleum jelly, Vaseline. And what we want to do is, if we put the front end together first, so self-centering nozzle onto the airbrush, and that just pops on there. Don't force any of this, because if you force it, you damage it. So it just wants to fit in, and then gently screw together. Right, you're not fastening up the Titanic with it, so you just screw it firmly shut, but no tighter than that. Right, the next thing to do is to set up the needle chuck assembly. So what I tend to do is I put the spring on and then get a toothpick or cocktail stick, because you don't need much, you don't want to overdo it, and then just spread some petroleum jelly on the spring. Nowhere else, just on the spring. And that then, once it works in, will just give you the ultra smooth trigger action when you're pulling back for paint. Right, so see how that's orientated with the guide horn bit at the top. Make sure that's facing fully forward, and then just slide it into the body of the airbrush. And then we can go on with the needle chuck holder and screw that in. And then what we need to do is just pull back to clear the trigger assembly, and then making sure we put it on the right way. So if you look at the trigger, at the back of the trigger there's a little cutout, and that's designed to rest on the round airbrush body. So that goes to the rear, and then the trigger just goes down there till it's seated properly. Then we can ease the pressure off the needle chucking assembly, and that's it in. Now tighten it up. And this is where your adjustability for this airbrush comes in. The more you tighten it, then the more resistance there is for it pulling back. So you can adjust the amount of resistance you want on the trigger using this knurled assembly here. Right, needle, gently slide it in. If you have to force it, it's going wrong. It should just slide nicely in. You will be able to feel it when it goes in past the needle packing assembly here in the body of the airbrush, and that's just to stop the paint leaking back along the needle, and then you'll feel it stopping when it gets into the nozzle at the other end. Needle chuck nut there, again make sure it's on properly, don't over tighten it, you're not holding the Titanic, and then we can just test it, and that's working beautifully. And that is the first upgrade I ever do to any of my airbrushes, and I do it to all of my airbrushes, is I always lubricate that spring just to give you a beautiful silky smooth travel, and that is really, really nice. So anyway, there's the airbrush ready to go. We can spray with that now. Could have sprayed with it beforehand, but that is a simple upgrade or tuning option to do to your airbrush, just to give you a little bit extra performance. Right, that's the colour cup on, and we'll pop the lid off. So we'll look inside the colour cup. It's nicely polished, but it's not as polished as the higher end airbrushes, but that's going to do exactly what you need it to do. Right, so compressor time. Let's just plug this fellow in first. So this is a United Kingdom one. So you've got an AC adapter, 100 to 240 volts, 50 to 60 hertz at 0.65 amps. So the output is 12 volt DC. So just what you need. So into my plug. Got a green power light on the adapter when it's plugged in and on, which is nice, so you know it's on. Right, let's get this packing off. Right, what I'll do is I'll just zoom out a bit so you can actually get her in frame. There we go. So it really isn't very heavy at all. These are the needle or the airbrush holders clipping at the front, and the airbrush obviously will sit in like so. Now the only problem you've got here is you're not going to get two airbrushes in there, not easily anyway. So here's another airbrush. So I suppose you could tilt them at a slight angle if they're empty, it'll not be too bad. The other way I've seen people doing it is storing them this way. But they are designed for the airbrush to fit like this. So one thing I'd certainly say to Gaahleri is turn this one around 180 degrees so you've got an airbrush that can fit in it like that. That would be far better. But it is what it is, and if that's all we've got to complain for, that's not too much. Anyway, we're not worrying about that. This is the airbrush that came with it. So this is the only other upgrade I'm doing, is the quick release. It's just because I use quick release for all of them. So the hose just screws onto the front here. This airbrush compressor is supposed to be able to run two airbrushes, and that's what this blanking plate here is for the second hose line. Right, we'll just undo the fixings. You can tell I've not been in this, because if I'd had, I would have had all this taken off before now. Right, and we'll just screw the quick release adapter into here. Now, the beauty with a quick release is you can have the compressor on and it won't leak air out. If you don't have the quick release on, then you need to have the airbrush screwed in all the time. So that fits nicely in there, even with a quick release, which is good. Right, so how do we work this? It helps if you plug it in, of course. Where's the power go in? To the front. So underneath the hose, in the front there. Right, we have got power. Maybe if I read the instructions we can see what the buttons tell us they are. Okay, here we go. Buttons. So, buttons and indicators. So this is the on-off button here in the center, which I thought it was. So this is max pressure, so min pressure, pressure increase, pressure decrease. So let me push and hold, is it? Okay, why is it not want to work? Oh, there we go. Well, there we go. So that's mid-range, 21 psi, and then max pressure is 27. Okay, minimum pressure 15. Well, that's quite quiet. Increased pressure. Right, let's get some thinners. So you've got a load of functional pressure settings there, which is really, really good. So at 15 psi, just for simple thinners. Well, that's spraying. Let's try max pressure. Yeah, that's definitely spraying well as well. Yeah, seems good. Right, shall we get some paint then? Grab from my little paint stash here. Right, give me a second. I'm going to grab some paint and we're going to grab a model and see how this thing puts paint down. So back in a second. We've got ourselves a little bit of a test mule here. A little light armoured vehicle. And what we can do is take the body off the top of this, I think. And we can look at painting some of these bodies. So in order to pick it up on the camera, we'll get some green paint, because green will show up nicely. NATO green. I think I've actually got some better stuff. Okay, here we go. So we've got some RAF dark green 2, and this is XF81. And the reason I chose this pot is because it's something I've already thinned up. So when I spray Tamiya acrylics, it's 50-50 base mix for Tamiya paint and X20A. And that gives a really good general paint medium. And it's a good baseline to test this airbrush with, because that's basically the pressure, the paint mix I use on all my airbrushes to start with to see how they spray. So that'll be a fair comparison to all the other airbrushes you've seen me use. Just always when you pour your paints out of the pot, bit of kitchen towel, wipe the rim, keeps it clean, stops getting gub and phlegm in the paint. Right, I'm just going to actually blow this off first. This is a bit dusty, it's been sitting in the cupboard for a wee while. Right, so we're going to start at minimum pressure. Can we backflow? Yes, we can. So we can mix paint if we need to. So let's have a look. And there we go. Paint is coming out, and it's coming out really rather nice. You get a good accurate laydown. And this is just 15 psi. So we're able to get paint down, no problem at all. Straight out the airbrush. Certainly no spitting. And we've got a good feathered finish there. Right, so let's try max pressure. So a lot more noise. Definitely getting more paint out. See that straight away. Still got nice control though. But yeah, definitely a lot more paint coming out. Let's go middle pressure, see what light we are there. Definitely not a noisy. So you can definitely see the difference in delivery from the different paint settings. We are definitely able to maintain accuracy though. So we can do our marbling. Obviously if you thin your paint more, you'll be able to get more of a marbled effect. I think there's a little bit of tip dry going on here. We're certainly getting nice up and close finish anyway. And then if we pull back, okay, that's struggling to put that through the airbrush. Certainly no tip dry going on there, but you can hear it's that 50-50 mix. It's just spitting a little bit. So if we go up a pressure setting, 23 psi, that's sounding a lot better. Still a little bit spitty though. Go max pressure again. Try painting the side. Well, you're certainly going to be able to lay paint down on that. No problem at all. Let's try a thinner mix and see if we can do some. If I paint, let's paint the whole of this side here. Right. Let's see if we can. What we'll do is we'll pull back some of this paint. Right. And we'll get some I'll switch off. Ah, there we go. I've got a little leak in my valve. Quick release. Right. What we're going to use is a little bit of this XF71, which is cockpit green. This one's not been used in a while, needs a good stir. We only need a brush full just to change the hue of the paint, and then we're going to thin it again 50-50, so we're now probably at a 25% paint 75 ratio, so quite a thin, almost milk-like consistency. And this will be our shading color. blow through the old paint. There we go. Okay, so that is too thin and it's too much pressure there, and that's at the standard air pressure. So let's go to minimum pressure. That's still laying down far too much, so we need to hold right back. Can't get up close and personal with it. This is obviously a problem sometimes when you've got lightened paint or thinner paint, is that you can't actually get in as close as you maybe want to. But it is still delivering, it's still working. And so you can put the streaking effects in, I like to do. The colour modulation. It still works nicely. Yeah, it's working not too bad. If we just look at the roof on the thin paint, just blow the dust off and then we can just paint. It certainly puts down a nice coat. This thing's dusty as hell, so it's going to be a little bit ropey finish anyway, but very, very thin paint, but it can handle it. Right, let's just clean it out and have a look. Let's see how easy it is to clean. Should be the same as any other airbrush. So straight, neat thinners in there. Bit of a twizzle around. Get your brush down into there. And we'll spray it out into some kitchen towel. Just there we go. Clean as a whistle. Right, so hopefully you can see there, and this has been a really quick and hasty test, but you can see that it's actually laid down the paint really quite nicely. It's nice and smooth, and we've had some decent controllability in that we can manage to get a little bit of modulation in there. And then obviously we've laid a paint layer down on this part here. You'll have to excuse the flurm. It's been in the cupboard for a while and I haven't cleaned it off, but it's still laid down a really smooth, even paint coat. And it works well at the different pressures. 50-50 mix is the standard Tamiya mix, and it works no problem at all with that. So yeah, all really quite nice. So what I'll do is I'll just clean this lot up, and then we'll get the camera back up and we'll sum up our thoughts. So there we go, the Serenair from Gaahleri. Thoughts then? Right, let's think about what this thing's for. We discussed it a little bit on the intro, but this kit is aimed at somebody wanting to get into airbrushing, or like I was when I first started out modelling, working from a very small space where I have to pack away every night. It gives you everything you need to start airbrushing in a small, convenient, easy to use package that doesn't create a lot of noise and is simple to operate. What more could you want from airbrushing, really? It's not too expensive. It's around about the £75 mark, I believe. Gaahleri usually have sales and promotions, and you can usually get their products cheaper, and I certainly have a discount code which I'll put in the link in the description below that you can use to get 10% off the product. That aside, performance wise, well, we saw it paint, you know, Tamiya standard 50-50 mix, no bother at all. Laid it down beautifully. You had decent control, so we could do a bit of fade in, do a bit of bleaching, mottling. It can do it all from a basic airbrush, and all I did to that airbrush was put a little bit of petroleum jelly on the spring just to ease that spring action, and that's something I do to all my airbrushes, whether they're high-end airbrushes or basic airbrushes like this. It's just a little hack I do just to make it work a little bit better for me. But you don't have to do a single thing to it, it will spray straight out the box. So would I recommend this? Yes, I would. Really, for the price, it's a lot less as a medium range airbrush, and it has everything you need to get going, to see if you want to continue and grow and develop and invest more into airbrushing. And it certainly will change the way you paint models. Always though, be mindful that when you're airbrushing, you've got airborne aerosol paint fume. Make sure you wear some breathing protection over your mouth and nose, just to stop the paint particles getting into your lungs. And if you're using hotter paint, so lacquers and such like, you will get a smell from it. You'll get a smell with Tamiya paints, it's not as strong, but there are other paints such as Megamo and Vallejo that have pure water-based acrylics that don't smell so bad either. But you've always got to remember, no matter what you're spraying, always wear a face mask just to make sure you're protecting your lungs, because you've only got one pair of lungs. So there we go. So it's definitely highly recommended for me. Now, something that I didn't allude to is you can get discount offers on it, and Gaahleri have discount offers on at the moment on Amazon, which if you have Amazon Prime, you get free posting. It's going to be a better deal for you. So I'll link, there's a discount code in the description box below, but basically the main product ranges from Gaahleri have got there's about 5 or 6 of them have got a discount using the link below, so you can actually pick this up. So the usual retail is $75.99. This one is going for $61.99 using the code below, so that's like £14 saving. If you got Prime, so you got free postage, that's an absolute ripping bargain. So $61.99, you can't even get a mid-range airbrush in the UK for that price, and you've got the whole setup, so it's a really good bargain. I'll throw pictures up so you can see what the deals are. But you've also got the acrylic metal marker set, that's going for $18.99. You've got the Mobius airbrushes, you've got the 0.3 and the 0.2. So the 0.3 is $59.99 and the 0.2 is $69.99. There's also an offer on the GH-AD39, which is $25.99, and it's also the GH-AD68, that's $44.99. So if you've watched my channel for a little while, you'll have seen all these different airbrushes that I use and how I've managed to get them to work and how they perform and my thoughts on them. So all that aside, use that discount code below, you'll get yourself a ripping bargain. And I've spoken to a lot of my subscribers who've emailed me about when they've picked up Gaahleri airbrushes, and they all seem pretty happy with them straight out of the box. So it's worth considering, that's what I'll say. You've seen how I've used them, you've seen my thoughts. I think they're great products. I wouldn't endorse them otherwise, and I would like to say thanks for Gaahleri for sending this for review. I really do appreciate your support. So there we go. If you've got any comments or questions, please pop them in the comment section below. I always take time to read, and I will answer every comment, and I appreciate everyone who takes time to put the comments in the box below. If you like what you see on the channel and you want to support it, doesn't cost a thing, please hit the subscribe button, thumbs up for a like. It does help the YouTube algorithm, and I appreciate all the support that you show me. So until next time guys, this has been Gaahleri Serenair Airbrush Compressor set. My name's Ian, Kitchen Table Modeler. Stay safe, and we'll see you again soon.